Moving right along to the next agenda item is the budget planning for 2014. Because we're not sure whether Susan will be here for it.
Yeah, we got to keep this thing moving.
Speaking of that whole generational thing, when we were in Washington speaking to our congressional delegation and others, we were also joined by most of the other trans systems in Florida and the Florida Public Transit Association, and the executive director of FPTA was pitching a statistic which I didn't know, that on average the Americans outlive their ability to drive by 7 years. And I don't know what it is, it might be even longer in Pinellas County if you did that, but that speaks to the DART conversation that we were talking about.
Is that their real ability, or is that when somebody finally takes the keys away?
I'm not sure. I don't know where she got this at.
There's a difference, you know.
Cars in the left-hand lane with the blinkers.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next item this is again an information item. This is the first presentation. You're going to see like many more presentations and develop the fiscal year 2014 budget, which starts next September 30th. We are a month earlier than last year on this, and the main thing I wanted to get across today was this schedule, to make sure you were okay with this, or if you had some thoughts on it. Talk just briefly today about some of the service assumptions that we will start putting together some numbers and put into the budget. Your committee meeting next month, over the next several months, then every time the planning committee meets, we will have some element of the budget to present to you. So some detail to discuss and to get your feedback, ultimately leading to at the June PSTA board meeting, the full board, we will have the full budget to present there at the June meeting. Then there is a requirement at the July PSTA meeting to set the
Preliminary millage.
The millage. So that's what that all kicks off to. So this is the way I have organized it, that next month we'll go over the CIP, the capital program, in some more detail. The following month we'll talk about personnel assumptions and benefits and all that. And then June is when we'll get the property valuations, or before your committee meeting, the property valuations specific for PSTA come in around June 1st or end of May. And so we'll have that, and we'll know the revenue piece then. Okay. I think these are the preliminary property valuations or revenue assumptions have been published or presented by Pinellas County as part of their long-range forecasts. They have just issued those about 6 weeks ago, or 2 months ago, with much more favorable, or with more favorable assumptions on valuations in Pinellas County. 2012 is the year we just finished, and the audit showed that we actually were $185,000 better than our adopted budget, which was the number that we got from the county. Anyway, 2013 is on target. We assumed in 2013 the budget is adopted with a negative 2.2% decrease in PSTA's property values. Unfortunately, as you know, PSTA is not the entire county. It is less 4 communities, including Treasure Island and St. Pete Beach, and those communities, at least their properties, are increasing faster. And so on average, or at least the last couple of years, as we've been going down, PSTA has been going down about 0.4% more than the county as a whole. So the county actually is going down this year 1.8%, where our valuations, according to the county appraiser, for our area, less St. Pete Beach and Treasure Island and Bel Air, what? And Lilliman, yeah,
Temple Terrace.
are at 2.2. So instead of 1.8 countywide it's 1.8 drop. We're 2.2 drop. So we don't have better numbers on this. We don't have perfect numbers on estimating this moving forward. So what I've done is taken the county estimate, countywide forecast for the future, and just taken off 0.4% from their numbers. FY14, they're now projecting a growth. We had assumed a similar drop, so because that was the county's old estimate, and now it's actually projected to actually grow slightly. The county believes it will grow by 2.5%. So for now, we say PSTA will grow by 2.1%. That might actually be different. We'll have to see what the actual numbers. That's a $1.3 million to the better forecast for our revenue picture moving forward. 2015 is we had assumed a 2% growth, and now the county had assumed a 2.5, so 2.1, and then in the outer years it's less. The county is now assuming 3 rather than 4, so ours will be something less than 3 in the outer years. So it's a good short-term, maybe questionable long-term. When we were in Washington this last couple of days, the picture is not so positive about federal funds. As well, I'm not saying anything newsworthy there, but the complications of the federal formulas and everything, I had told the board, and it's true that the sequester that already happened didn't affect us. But now the next thing is the continuing resolution that they're contemplating, which is at the end of this month to keep the government open. And that will affect us. Or at least the plan that the House approved, that they said that the Senate was going to approve, although John McCain didn't like it, so it didn't get approved. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. But supposedly it's like a done deal, whatever that means. That's going to be a drop in our federal funding. And that will affect our operating revenue moving forward. So we still have to look at all of the different numbers. Ridership is up and fare box is up. So that's also a positive on the long-term revenue picture. The general outline that we're starting the budget planning from is listed on this page. Not to reduce service. There will be some enhancements. This may not be the entire list, but this will be some of the enhancements that we have on tap. As you know, we're going to be constructing, and in FY14, early FY14, hopefully opening a transit center there in Pinellas Park. That will be an enhancement. The next agenda item, and there are requests that we enhance or provide more Jolly Trolley services that we can talk about. We have presented as our legislative package to the state and been received positive feedback on bidding out or contracting out for express services tailored to the tourists of Clearwater Beach, to the airport, and to Tropicana Field from Tampa, down in the St. Pete area. That we could bid out and hopefully receive state funding to support and have those types of services added starting in 2014. And then, of course, we will hopefully adopt a number of improvements, short and long-term improvements under the community bus plan, and then under the No new revenue scenario. There might be some adjustments to service that might kick in FY14. Obviously, one of our main activities in the fiscal year 14 timeframe is to continue to outreach to the community on our plans for the future, and that will be the large main discussion that we have, certainly at this committee level and throughout PSTA. Not proposing a fare increase or a millage rate adjustment. Again, we need to look at our ongoing practice of deferring some 85% of our federal capital dollars, or our federal formula dollars that at one point were supposed to be for capital, but every single system in the country, including PSTA, is actually using them for operating, so it's hard to say that they're for capital. But that is a long-term problem. And like I said, in Washington, it looks like that funding stream might go down. So we need to take another look at how we defer, how we take our formula money and we convert it to use to support the operations. At least for now, although we have to run the numbers because the property values have gone up. Fiscal year 14, we are projecting we will have to use some built-up reserves to maintain the service levels. Just to highlight again about the fare. PSTA at $2 fare is the highest in Florida. Hart increased their fare last year, so now they are also at $2. Hart, PSTA, and Orlando are at the $2 mark. As part of the community bus plan, one of the scope items that the consultant was to provide some recommendations on was a fare policy. Not a fare policy, that's a bad word. PSTA has a fare policy on what the fare is for all the different types of things. This would be a sort of a planning policy on how we adjust our fares. Under what circumstances do we adjust our fares and maybe even consider automatic adjustments on a periodic basis to our fares. At more than 25% fare box recovery, PSTA has the highest fare box recovery of any transit system in the state. Oh, that concludes my presentation. So those are sort of the the initiatives that you should expect to see as we put the budget together. Any thoughts or comments?
My same old, I'm scared to death about the effect of the Affordable Care Act. Are we already working on what that's going to be in 2014?
Yes, in your 2013 budget, and it should be maybe coming back next month. A hiring of a benefits broker, and specifically in that RFP that is out on the street, or they've come in now. The broker is tasked with advising us on implementation of the Affordable Care Act. That's sort of the official answer. The short answer is, and I think Larry can describe, there's a very up to our heads and information about how that's going to affect.
Are we anticipating a real big financial hit on that?
No, not really, but it is going to be a lot more guideline, time reporting, and updates that way. We just, as a group committee yesterday, selected a broker, so we'll be bringing that to the committee.
Great.
Help us with that, but we're on that. We're also working with Pinellas County HR.
Some companies and transit agencies, like my last one, which have a very high proportion of part-time workers that get no health insurance, they are subject to, you know, having to either provide health insurance for those folks or pay a fine and stuff. PSTA is not in that kind of situation.
Are we gonna have to extend coverage to the families or to the spouses and stuff?
We already do. We do,
Well, we'll make it available, but nobody takes us up on it.
because it's so high priced.
Yeah.
That is a, there are provisions, at least my understanding is, there are provisions in the act that don't let you outprice the market completely.
Right, there's a formula that, in fact, in part of our presentations where we went through this week, and they told us currently, even if we went forward with the existing plan, we would meet the criteria. So, you know, they basically, I think the percentage is like 60%. And if they feel that you're too high on it, then you would have to either make an adjustment or pay a penalty. And in fact, our current family plan is such that if we were out there and really had it adjusted, it would be in the neighborhood of like $1,800 a month. Currently, our offering is like $1,250. So we're at a significant better rate going into this.
Because I had gotten the impression that we would be responsible, or somebody is responsible for covering everybody, and if these people are, the spouses are not covered, somebody's got to cover them.
Yeah, we're going to end up having.
Reading the Republican.
I have been hearing too much. I really don't watch
Don't read
Fox.
that stuff. Don't watch Fox and don't read that stuff.
Who's going to be responsible?
Well, what's going to take place is they set up, as you know, Florida hasn't put in place those exchanges yet, or the markets. And once they do that, if we're meeting the criteria and we make it available or offering it, then we're kind of off the hook, if you will.
Okay.
Then they go to the exchanges.
It's up, they have the choice. They can take
Right.
a PSTA, but if it's a better cost, a better deal
Right.
by the exchange, they can do that.
Thank you.